What is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of Manufacturing Transformed. Today, I had a great conversation with Jim and Ryan CARR of CARR Machine and Tool, right outside of suburban Chicago, as Jim says. I just love multi-generational family-run machine shops. They are the most sort of salt of the earth people and businesses that drive our economy, quite honestly. And to see a company like CARR Machine that started, in one half of a two-car garage with Jim's dad decades ago, I think almost 52 years is what he said, through Jim taking it over, bringing on CNC machines, adding more sophistication to the business, and then Ryan joining, I think about 10 years ago, something like that. And then accelerating even further into, a ProShop as an example, more automated CNC equipment and robots and lights out and machine monitoring. It's fantastic to see what is possible in a business like that when you have the vision, as Jim talks about, setting a vision for the future, setting your goals, where you want to go, and then executing on that. And technology, of course, is a critical part of that. We also talk about core values, which quite honestly comes up in pretty much every podcast I am a part of. They're just so essential to having the right team, getting the alignment, having everyone working towards the success of the company. It makes it more fun to work, as Ryan aptly points out. So it's a fun conversation. And again, it's a true honor to have a business like this use ProShop and be a partner in their success. So enjoy the conversation with Jim and Ryan CARR. Jim, Ryan, welcome to Manufacturing Transformed. It's great to have you guys here.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for being. So Jim, you and I have known each other for many, many years now. I venture to guess you probably recorded more manufacturing podcasts than anyone else on the planet, possibly. So you are an old hat at this. But I would love to start with a bit of the background of CARR Machine.
Sure.
I know your father started it many years ago. You took it over, and now you're in the transition with Ryan. So let's just get the background, and then we'll get into how ProShop has been a part of that over the last several years.
Absolutely. So I'll try and truncate 52 years into about 5 minutes. So I hope I don't bore you all. My dad founded CARR Machine and Tool in the one-car side of a two-car garage here in suburban Chicago. Quite frankly, maybe just 3 miles from where we're sitting right today. So very close. My dad was a skilled machinist by trade. He worked for Circle Tool and Manufacturing Company in Des Plaines, Illinois, and he was the shop superintendent. One of his coworkers, a purchasing agent, decided to go out on his own and became successful quite right away. My dad said, "Hey, I can do this too. If he can do it, I can do it." So my dad caught the beginning of a good time right out of a recession. So he caught that wave, much like surfing. When you catch the right wave, that's exactly how my dad did it.
Nice.
He went into like a 1,500 square foot incubator facility here in Elk Grove Village, right in Chicagoland, and then started, and that was December 2nd, 1972. So we say that's our inception day. I came into the business in high school. I was a senior, and my parents came to me and said, we can offer you a 4-year college education at a university, or you can go and come into the family business by doing a machinist apprenticeship program at the local manufacturing association. Thought long and hard and decided that my family looked like they were doing fairly well, and I wanted to continue that. So, manual machining and then CNC machining, and learned all those things from the back door to the front door. Not all good things. I picked up some bad things along the way because, manufacturing back then was not a great culture, and the environment wasn't certainly like what we have nowadays. But literally, learned all those things. Took over as president in 2004 after about 10 years of trying to convince my dad that this is the right direction for us to go. And when I did decide to and take over in 2004, I made some cognizant changes in my head that I knew I wanted a network. I knew we needed to get out beyond the four walls that we were in. It was important to do that, working on your business rather than inside of your business. And I always had a passion for sales and marketing, mostly marketing. So I really started to focus on that and be around marketers, and they kind of fueled my fire and my desire for marketing. So and then 2014, Ryan came in. He went to DePaul University in Chicago. I don't know what his what he graduated with.
What did you graduate with, Ryan?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah. I'll hand it over to Ryan because I can talk all day.
Yeah, absolutely. 2014, I joined the business right out of college. I went downtown to DePaul University, graduated with my business management degree. Nice. And from that point on, I kind of started working on the shop floor, and my experience kind of mimics Jim's experience, just not as many years. Started working on the machines, the old Fidel machining centers, cleaning coolant tanks, running the machines, and then slowly kind of worked my way up to my position now as operations manager. So, programming by hand to Mastercam programming, starting to implement new technologies throughout the shop, softwares, new machine tools, all that stuff. My day-to-day is just handling all shop floor related problems, a lot of firefighting, but that's what keeps it interesting, I guess.
And that's the nature of the industry and the business is there's always some fire to put out. Did you guys have Mastercam when you joined, or was it just all hand G-coding at that time?
We did have Mastercam when we joined. From what Jim tells me, we've had Mastercam since the 80s.
We have. No, we have. I used to use it.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to tell you how educated I am in it, but and how little we used of the whole software. But we've been using it since the 80s, maybe the late 80s, but yeah.
Okay. And so Jim, when you joined, what size was the business, and what size is it when Ryan joined, and where are you guys at today? And if you don't want to share revenue, it can be number of employees or machines or whatever.
I can go by percentages. So. Yeah. When I took over, that's a lot of decades, Paul. I'll try to do my best. I think we were maybe bouncing between 3 to 5 employees at that time. Okay. Revenue was under, $1 million, maybe play about that much. But it was a mom and pop shop. It was a lifestyle business. For sure.
Yeah.
When Ryan came on, I think there was about 3 of us, 4 of us, and we lost a lot during the recession in the 2008 recession too. So we had to lay off about 65% of our staff. It was very painful.
Yeah,
it is painful. But yeah, 2014, Ryan came on, and what do we have, Ryan? About?
Yeah, I think when I joined, it was 4 of us, but then it went down to 3 for quite some time. And then we slowly started adding more and more people, probably like 2016 and on. We added more.
And where are you at today in terms of your team?
We're just under 15 people right now, and hoping to add we're shooting for 20 by the end of Q1. Trying to implement some middle management and maybe a second shift.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay.
I don't know. That second shift is a little awkward to me. It's
they're hard.
It doesn't seem natural to me, but that's okay. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, you do have sort of a second shift of sorts because you have some automated machines and robot loading, and so. Sure. You do have spindles running past day shift.
Yep, absolutely.
That's the goal for sure.
Yeah. And you've really kind of specialized. I think you're just seeing your great marketing, Jim, over the last several years. You've really changed the focus of the business and the types of customers you're serving. So, can you give a little bit of a snapshot today? I mean, you were very much were you more like a tool and die shop, really low volume, sort of one-off types of parts, a lot more industrial, and now your
Yeah.
parts are going into space and airplanes and
Yeah,
all sorts of
so
stuff like
it's
that.
been a dramatic shift, Paul. So back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, we were heavily into the printing press parts. So we manufactured new and replacement parts for printing presses. So printing presses that would produce newspapers, magazines, flyers, and that was really lucrative and it was great until around 2000. We started to see a decline in the quantities. What was once 30 or 40 pieces went down to 20, went down to 10, went down to 5. And then it really started, slowing down. It was onesie, twosie, low volume, high mix work. We could see the writing on the wall. We didn't want to accept it, but we knew it was coming. So we really, and when Ryan came on, we said, we've got to make a cognizant decision to get out of this industry and start attracting some new ones. Mm-hmm. So we thought, we had many discussions about it, put a roadmap together, and thought that aerospace would probably be a good direction. Yep. Department of Defense, medical is good, although it's not a very big part of our business right now. And then emerging technology is another big one as well. So
yeah, would that include private space?
It would include private space, yes.
Yeah, which is a boon to so many shops. It's kind of crazy how many parts they need.
Yeah, but I have to tell you, and I'm sure your audience knows this too, it wasn't easy. So to get there, to attract that high-level customer in those spaces, we had to do a couple of things. We had to have a roadmap on how we were going to get from point A to point B. And if we really wanted to grow this business, how are we going to get there? Everyone could say, oh, I want to be doing 15 million a year. And in 5 years, we're going to be at 15 million a year. Well, that's great. But you have to have a plan. You have to have a legitimate written plan to do it.
Absolutely.
AS 9100 was one of those things. ProShop ERP was another one. We hired a full-time sales man. What else, Ryan? Oh, we read the book Traction by Gino Wickman, which is an entrepreneurial operating system, a systematized way to run your business. That was a key thing.
Yep.
And I don't know what the fifth thing was. I know there's 5, but
I think it was me.
Yeah, and it was Ryan. So, yeah, that's how we entered into those industries, because otherwise it just wouldn't have been possible. But first of all, they won't look at you unless you're AS.
Sure.
So
let's. I think the idea of setting a roadmap is just brilliant. I think not a lot of business owners really take the time to do intentional business planning and set the vision and work backwards on how we're going to get there with all the steps. So maybe it dovetailed nicely with me reaching out to you to be a guest on Making Chips many years ago, and then we got to know each other a little bit, and then we started talking about ProShop. Did that dovetail with that sort of strategic plan?
So yes, I was recording Making Chips, and Paul was like, boom, in my DMs and LinkedIn. Oh, I got this great software. Oh, I got to show it to you guys. Oh, I want to be on your show. And we're like, and I said to Jason, I'm like, this guy keeps bugging me. Let's listen to him one day. So finally we said yes, and we brought him on, and you inspired me. But I think more than anything, Paul, you inspired Ryan, because we were using Job Boss, and we were only using it to maybe 30% of its capabilities.
Super common.
Yeah, it's super common. And Ryan said, Dad, this is a great thing. This is going to help us scale. It's paperless. It's got the quality management system in. We got, freaking piles of binders that we'd love to dump in the trash. Um, and that was the start of it. But it was really Ryan, because I remember after you gave him that first demo, we hung up and we said, he said to me, we really need to do this. If we're going to grow, if we're going to scale, um, it really looks like this is the ERP system for CARR.
Yeah,
So,
it was kind of funny how it all worked out actually, because I remember sitting like in the office with job boss in front of me and trying to look into different ways to utilize it to like enhance our operations, and I just couldn't figure it out, right? And then Jim was just like, well, I've been talking to this guy, Paul, about ProShop ERP, and everything at that point kind of aligned. And then we had the demo with one or two people that were working with us, and then we liked it, and it kind of just moved on from there, and eventually implementation. So it was great.
do I dare say how the implementation went and be honest about it?
Absolutely, you should.
Yeah. So we purchased the software. It was implemented. We were concurrently running Job Boss.
Yeah.
And because I'm the estimator in the company, that's where all sales lead from, right?
Yep.
But Jim wasn't doing his job that well, right? So Jim was a little tough to get going. So Paul sends me an email and he goes, "We really need to have a conversation." And it was kind of like a come to Jesus moment. And he's like, "Listen, if you don't start using it, you're never going to start." And I distinctly remember that call. And the next day I said, "I'm going to do this." And I did. And it just flowed all from there, because really that's the beginning of the process, right? Is the estimating process. That's where all the data is entered, and that it all flows down from there.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't want to have the same situation where you're using 30% of a software and just like barely getting value out of it. That's not what, we're about. So, thanks you for being receptive to my call, and glad you got on board. And I know that when we did a customer testimonial video, like a year or two later, you were, I think you said like it tripled your throughput, right, in estimating.
Oh my God. It was far and away way more faster. We were just, I was using a spreadsheet.
Sure.
And a lot of it was tribal knowledge. I mean, I have to admit, being in the industry for 40 plus years, I could look at a machine part and I could tell you, I could pretty much guesstimate within about 15 or 20% what that part is worth. Now, whether or not people want to pay that, that's what it's worth. So that helped in my estimating, because of that tribal knowledge. I knew I was estimating on the right track.
Yeah, but you need to translate that into a plan that the team can then execute on.
Exactly.
So I know that's an important part, but I'd love to come back to Ryan. Like, what did you see in Job Boss that wasn't allowing you to, grow or scale the way that you guys had planned?
Yeah, I think one of the specific things I remember was trying to figure out how the routings worked. I knew that other shops were using routers and all that stuff, and our router was, you pull the print out of the filing cabinet and you see all the notes there. You pull up the G code, upload it to the CNC machine, and you read the log of notes that people have added over the time. So we really weren't even utilizing the routing steps. And I just knew there was a better way. So just being introduced to that whole side of ERP was nice. And the fact that it's paperless and browser based, we have a fairly young staff, so it was really receptive. And the fact that we were smaller probably helped with that too. But yeah, I think just it being a modern ERP and having all the functional capabilities that an ERP should, but easily usable, was what really drove our decision.
Sure. When so it sounds like the drawing with notes on it, probably that started at estimating, where Jim, you were writing down, this side first, that side second, this much for material, whatever. And
Honestly, I don't
then
even remember how I used to do it, but yes, I will honestly admit at one point I was estimating on the print.
Yeah, well,
What I
Grandpa
would,
used to write the material costs on the top right-hand corner of all the prints.
Grandpa did,
Yeah.
yes, he did. And what I used to do is I used to print all the prints, so that I'd get 50-page print, and then I'd get my highlighter and I would go thickness, width, length, tolerance, 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 material, finish. I'd highlight all the details of the print, and then I'd figure the weight of the part, and I put 50 pounds on it right under the material, right? And then what the material order, I need to order 4140 pre-hard, 1 1/4 by 2.5 by 23 1/8 long, right? And that was all on the print, along with some spilled coffee and some coolant and everything else, because we have been doing that for about 15 years.
Absolutely.
Crazy. Wow, man, when I think about it, it's crazy how far we've come.
Yeah, it is funny to think about the old process of I distinctly remember you highlighting all the tolerances, the length times width. Yeah,
you probably don't remember as a kid, though. We'd get really busy. It was busy, slow. That's how it was. And we went camping one weekend, and there I am, because I'm the estimator, right? I brought a stack of prints, and I'm out on the picnic table with my highlighter and my pencil, going through all these prints on the picnic table.
Wow.
That's how
That's
it
dedication.
used to be. There was no internet back then.
That's true. So sounds, and you must have also been using something like QuickBooks and just various spreadsheets and other systems for other parts of the business. I imagine you had lots of different sort of disparate systems. And did you have, I know you had ISO certification at one point. Did that lapse and then you got it again later, or can you share that part of it? Or maybe it was AS9100.
About 15 years.
We had ISO. We had ISO, but I think we let it go for a year and then we recerted with AS.
Exactly. I think that's exactly what we wanted to do, because the writing was on the wall with ISO. We knew we needed to go in a aerospace direction. We knew we wanted to attract a higher level customer, and that was what we needed to do. So.
And did you get that AS prior to ProShop, or did you get that with ProShop?
We got it with ProShop.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the flying start, and then.
Oh yeah, got it.
And then we went that route.
And did you? I know we have a couple of folks on our team that sometimes customers will have them come in and help them through a gap audit and just like really kind of tailor it for themselves, and then possibly support them through the audit. Did our team help you with that, or did you handle that internally at that time? I don't actually remember.
I don't actually remember either.
Okay.
I know. Well, no, we had.
Go ahead.
We had Michael Collins help us for the first initial audit, and then we had someone from the shop floor move into a quality role. But I believe that was after the initial audit.
Got it.
But
Yeah. Okay. And I'm just curious, in general, going to AS, obviously there's a lot more documentation required. Besides that being sort of a requirement for the industries you wanted to target, did you find that it actually helped like make your business processes just more robust, so you actually executed better as a company?
Oh, absolutely. Our efficiency went up through the roof.
Your efficiency went through the roof.
Is that what you're asking, Paul?
Yeah, I think so.
I know our efficiency went through the roof because everything was contained. Now, we didn't have prints all over the place. We weren't using the Google Docs. We weren't using, it seemed like years ago we had things everywhere. It was in Google, it was in the print drawer. Oh, but it wasn't in that drawer, it was in the customer drawer. Oh no, it wasn't in the customer drawer, it was in the GIB drawer. So it was just like everything was everywhere. So when we went to ProShop, when we transitioned, everything is in one place. And it really is in one place now. And still to this day, we're trying to put everything in ProShop. a one source place to run your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So coming back to estimating, you said that just improve the speed at which your bandwidth for doing quoting. Did that result in turning them around faster and then winning more work from those customers that were asking you to quote? Like, because we all know, I think, that oftentimes the first shops to get their quotes in, as long as it's within the ballpark, very likely to win those. So just speed can increase win rate. Did you experience that?
I didn't notice any upticks in win rate, but I definitely knew that I was turning over quotes extremely fast because everything was templated. You know what I mean?
Got
I
it.
could create templated estimate pages, or I copied an existing estimate
Mm-hmm.
that was similar
Yeah.
in structure, or if the parts were similar. When I still to this day, when I'm quoting, a package, I'll put all the 6061, I'll put all the carbon, I'll put all the stainless steel, all the titanium, and then I'll move on from that to that to that.
Sure.
And so I can just keep copying the estimate page and then just tweaking it a little bit. Once you have all of that information loaded in there, you have your markup, you have your scrap rate, all your information loaded in the cost breakdown. It's simple. And then the best part is you can tweak it, like the labor. You can tweak the percentage of labor per unit. If it's a production job, you can go in and knock off 20, 30, 40, 50% if you feel that's appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. So even if your win rate stayed consistent, if you're just getting them through faster, more volume of them, did that help just increase the revenue that was coming in, the number of actual POs you were then winning? Because you've obviously grown considerably over the last few years, so that had to have been partly driven by new opportunities that turned into actual purchase orders.
Right. Well, not only have we gone from low volume, high mix, we're now a high volume, low mix shop. So
Mm-hmm.
we've really transitioned over. And I think that it was a big learning lesson for all of us, but we
Right.
knew that the low volume, high mix was just killing us.
It's a hard business. Yeah, it's very
It's
hard.
really hard. It's really hard to be profitable. Every time you get a new job, you got to program the job, you got to figure out the tooling, you got to figure the work holding, you got to inspect it, and how many times is it going to go through quality? It's just really hard. I commend people who can do low volume, high mix, and I know you can get a lot of money for it, but it will significantly slow your production down. Isn't that what
Yeah.
we found out, Ryan?
Yeah, it's very hard to scale unless all your guys in the shop know how to pretty much take the job from start to finish entirely.
Yeah, and those people are exceedingly hard, if not impossible, to find.
Exactly. Yep.
Do you? Okay, so that's all good stuff. When you have a customer come into the shop, a prospective one or one that you're trying to grow with, how has ProShop featured in your show and tell, or showing them how you run the business and instilling that confidence that you should be the place they send POs?
Do you want to take that, Ryan?
I could start for sure. Every time we have a customer in and we show them we kind of take them through our process from start to finish. As far like the record starts with the estimate, how it converts to part record, how we control all their files and our process devs. They love the manufacturing operations, all the pictures and all the information that we have in there. I'd say we're a pretty heavy user of ProShop, utilizing the tooling module and everything. So when they truly see that we could create a process and control it through its entirety, it kind of solidifies the deal a little bit. The fact that all of our QMS is also in ProShop, tracking our NCRs, our quality procedures and everything, keeping it all in one spot. They really enjoyed that. And a couple of our customers have asked for referrals too to get connected with you guys. I'm pretty sure whether or not it's a good fit for them or not. But yeah, so far everyone's been receptive.
And I think the one factor, it's paperless, is just people still, it's almost what, 2025? People still, it's almost 2025 in what, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Crazy. The fact that we are truly a paperless company. I mean, we really are. There's no travelers, there's no prints. There's just, scrap paper. I've got my book that I have for all my notes that I take. But on the shop floor, there's computer monitors at every machine, dual monitors mounted vertically with mini PCs out there, and it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, and anyone that hasn't seen your shop, it's an absolutely impeccably clean, beautiful, first-class facility, and I think hopefully ProShop pairs well with that, like a fine wine and a good cheese or something.
I get that really well.
I know you're definitely a wine connoisseur. Was the idea of getting rid of paper, was that a hard thing for some of your folks or even you guys to swallow in the first place? That's a fear point for many people. It's like a safety blanket of some type,
Yeah, honestly, I think the hardest part was just getting rid of the physical prints in the shop. Because the guys like to hold on to the print, and we had them in the paper protectors so they could highlight dimensions with a expo marker if they needed to or something. That was definitely the hardest part. But I think once we implemented the dual monitors throughout the shop, it was a pretty easy sell. And you just kind of have to do it. You just have to jump off the deep end. You can't do half of the prints are going to be paper, half of the prints are going to be digital. You just have to go all in. So.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you mentioned that, and especially the dual monitor setup. That's just a game changer. A nice big 24-inch monitor or something. What are they? $100 these days?
Yeah.
And I know I'm getting to the point where maybe you too, Jim. I have reading glasses, and so if we can just blow up that that 11:17 print that has tiny little text, if I can just blow that up to be half the size of a monitor. Yeah, it's so much easier to see what's going on and see where those lines are pointing to, and just make sure you're inspecting it right, and all those things make such a difference.
Well, plus they can, it's great nowadays to have CAD. We've got a CAD model that we can look at. I mean, it even helps me in the quoting process. Years ago, we only had that flat PDF print, right? And we had to really look at it. Is it a dotted line? Is it a straight line? Is it something behind it? Now it's really easy. And we run the Mastercam demo versions at all of our PCs, so the machinists can run the tool path and see it run through at the machine before they run it as well.
Awesome.
So that helps them and gives them a visualization too.
Yeah, I remember making a part one time where it was such a tiny little detail drawing and we didn't have a model at all, and there was like a line that was dashed that we didn't notice was dashed or something, and we made it like with a slot on the wrong side, and it made it all the way through machining and programming and quality and to the customer. And then a few days later they call us up and they're like, what's with these? The slot's on the wrong side. We're like, oh shit.
That was easy to do back then.
Yeah.
I know.
It was very easy.
Yeah.
So we've come a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, Ryan, NCRs. Can you describe a little bit about maybe has it actually helped improve your actual quality metrics to be able to track NCRs more in real time and do that dimensional in-process inspection, and versus I presume you were doing on paper inspection reports originally?
Yeah, it's hard to say if it's improved our quality just as far as scrap rate goes. But being able to inspect the part, and if you either fat finger or you put the wrong dimension in, and ProShop tells you if it's a wrong dimension as the warning message, and being able to create the NCR right there without having to think is definitely a benefit. But being able to go through and just look at how many NCRs were created for that work order could point out a specific problem. I just rediscovered the NCR breakdown page for each work order. Instead of just going to all of the NCRs for each work order, and I can see which ones are still outstanding or not, which has been great. So I just having more visibility, I guess, and easier traceability than just written tags. I mean, we still use the tags, but
you got to physically identify it. Yeah,
having a dashboard that you can follow is great.
So speaking of the dashboard, now that you've rediscovered it, have you been using the filters down at the bottom to filter for like NCR code or cause code or person?
I have not yet.
So I think that's one of the keys, quite honestly, getting to the thrust of my question, because I know that one of my other guests that I interviewed a few weeks back, he said, they are now putting in place like tailored training plans for different machinists or different programmers that have different NCR, causes. It's like, this guy's not very good at, doing his thread to drill tap, like distances, or this other guy is not as good with, using micrometers. So being able to just sort, by cause code or NCR code, or which person is causing the most NCRs, and then drilling into why are those happening, can really help you narrow into an improvement plan for that specific issue, which ultimately will reduce your scrap rate, once you just systematize that process.
Yeah, we definitely have all the data, just have to go through and filter it all. Yes. I guess that'll be something for our new quality manager to do.
Got it.
It really is all about process, though.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Really, yeah. I mean, I keep hearing it from Ryan all the time, and Dad, it's process. But we have to have a process. And as we're scaling, and I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned in this transition to scaling, is you have to really like delegate, give away, and utilize things and create a repeatable process so we and our employees know what the next, if this doesn't work, what's the next step? If this doesn't work, what's the next step? Or who to go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And when you do have, an issue with something not going well or right, 9 times out of 10, it'll come back to a process not being robust enough or not being understandable enough. And it's very seldom is it a person problem, someone that actually just doesn't care or isn't even trying.
There's some of those too.
Hopefully you weed those out in your interviews. But but I still contend that most of the time people are trying to do a great job.
Yes.
And if they don't understand the process, it's tough. When you I guess through this entire journey, where really there's been and I remember visiting, your shop in the very earliest days to what it is today.
Old car.
Old car. Okay.
Old car. This is new car.
You're driving the new fancy car.
Exactly. That's the old car. This is the new car.
Yeah, I love that. Has the culture of the business changed with your employees, and just the culture of the business?
I definitely think so. That was one thing that, I grew up in an environment, a poor cultural environment. No discredit to my father, but they just, machine shop owners back in the day weren't educated, and they didn't know people. There wasn't networking. There wasn't as much communication as we have nowadays. And, they were just going by the seat of their pants. It was work long hours, work hard, and that's how you were successful. Mm-hmm. But I do and that was part of the process years ago. And it's funny, I used to interview people on our podcast, and everyone would be talking about core values, core values, core values. And here I'd be listening and I'd be hearing about all this success these companies were having because they implemented core values and they really stuck to them. And I'm like, hey, I better start walking the walk because I'm talking the talk. And so we did. We developed our core values back right after you started, right, Ryan?
Yeah, when we started reading Traction.
Yep. And we had like 35, we had a list, right? And then you kill and combine. Well, this one's kind of like this one, so we're going to get rid of that one. And we got them down to 4. So, but the thing is, you have to maintain it and you have to practice it. You can't just say it. You can't just put it in a pretty picture frame and put it on the wall. You have to go out there and you have to do it. And I think that if you get into the practice of utilizing those core values and showing your team that you're serious about them and you care about them, you're going to get that respect back. And, that's all you want. And just for me, Paul, the whole thing was I didn't really enjoy the environment I was working in as a young man growing up in this industry. And it was really important for me to change that mentality and that perception of what a manufacturing company looked and felt like to work in. That was really important to me. And it's affected the quality of our business and success, growth and everything else. So it's a foundation of a good business.
Yeah, I'm sure. So Ryan, you mentioned you have a lot of young machinists, a lot of young team. Do you feel like those values, maybe combined with, this beautiful shop that's paperless and just all the things you've done, does that really help attract that younger generation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when people come and walk into this shop and maybe the shop down the street, having a nice, clean, bright environment with new machines, computers everywhere, very, very high technology involvement. People come here, they interview, and they want to work here. I don't think we've ever had someone leave and said, no, I don't see myself here, or I don't want to work with you guys. So that has been great because people come and see that we do walk the walk. But having that core value is truly what we strive for. Like, we're not just going to hire someone because they check all the technical boxes, but you really have to mesh with the rest of the team and share all of our core values at the end of the day.
Yeah, when you were saying that, Jim, it was what popped into my head is you ultimately need to hire and fire based on your core values. Right.
We interviewed somebody this morning and he left and we got an email within 15 minutes and we're like, the feedback was great. He really wants to work for us. But Ryan and I said, let's go through the core values. Is this person aligned with our core values? So, it's important, but it's not easy. You know what I mean? Right. It's not a slam dunk all the time.
Yeah, you just get a glimpse.
You get a glimpse. Yeah. You get a glimpse.
Yeah, of course.
So
I want to ask about how, how ProShop, and again, the transformation you guys have had has been multifaceted, right? From traction. I know you guys work with EBITDA growth systems. That's been pretty huge for you.
Yep.
Obviously moving into the, new facility and really, so all those things, how has that impacted you personally in terms of the stress level you have, the hours you work? Obviously, I feel like there's, oftentimes we have customers say that, like the amount of firefighting goes down, when everything's connected and digital and they have information at their fingertips. But at the same time, you guys have grown substantially, which adds a whole layer of challenge and complexity and stress. So I don't know how you want to answer that. Could you have grown as fast as you did, keeping the wheels on the bus, without ProShop, or would that not have been possible? Or answer that any way you'd like to answer that.
I could start. I definitely don't think we could have grown at this pace without ProShop, just because we had documented systems, but it wasn't, like you said earlier, Paul, we had them documented, but I don't necessarily believe we were actually following them. And also being able to add more employees at the same time and onboarding them with these processes, kind of everyone started buying in at the same time. So short answer, no, I don't think we could have grown at this rate without having ProShop. So, yeah.
And I can pick up from there.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jim. Yeah.
So when I think of the growth that we've witnessed in the last 5 to 7 years, 8 years, maybe, and I've talked about this before. I remember years ago, I'd be in these networking groups and with veteran business owners, machine shop owners, and they'd be talking about scaling. And I remember one guy had a graph up, and he's like, "Yeah, it's the financial burden of scaling is," and I didn't really understand it. Guess what? I understand it now because we have been reinvesting nearly all of our profits back into our business consistently for about 5 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I knew it was going to be a little bit of a burden, but it was a significant burden financially. I can see, everything's looking great out a year, 2, 3, but still, that ramp up process is difficult. Not only from an emotional standpoint, but from a financial standpoint too.
Oh, yeah, it's incredibly cash intensive.
It's
expensive to grow.
Right.
Yeah, as you know.
Especially if you want to buy all the latest and greatest technologies, and we do. That's what we wanted. We want the latest and greatest technologies because it attracts a higher level team member, employee. It attracts customers, and it's creating a better, healthy environment for our employees. So
what would you say to a shop owner that is hesitant to spend the money on the best, highest technologies?
Brian?
I
have an answer, but I'd like to hear his.
I mean, it's rewarding. I mean, I think as like machinists, we like technology. We like the latest and greatest things. So, I mean, I wouldn't regret it. I mean, it's going to make you grow, whether you like it or not. I mean, you're going to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and that's the only way to grow. So, I mean, we couldn't have grown to this level without reinvesting. I mean, we had old Fidel machining centers. So adding.
Hey, watch out! I grew up on those.
Well, they were good for what we used them for, I guess.
Yes, they were.
But you kind of just have to bite the bullet and do it. And you will get through it. I mean, but it's a necessary evil. So.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would say to that machine shop owner that's thinking about scaling is be careful not to overinvest. Don't live beyond your means because you can go into debt. But many of my peers, it says I have a recession obsession, but we as an industry have not seen a significant recession in a long, long time. It's going to happen. And let me tell you, if you start down this path of scaling and you have a lot of debt and you don't have the backing to get yourself out of it, it's gonna grab you and it's gonna kill you. I'm gonna be getting the auction notice in the mail in the future. So just be very careful. Don't live outside of your means. Take it slow, but be prepared for the financial implications.
Yeah, that's super wise. Yeah, no one knows when that one's coming, but
we don't. I wish we did.
Yeah. We all wish we had that crystal ball.
Yep.
So this one, I think we've danced around this, but I'm just curious to hear the actual what you'd say about it. So many clients talk about ProShop as being the backbone of their business, their operations. And Ryan, you said you're pretty heavy. You're into the tooling module and you're into all these other things that many clients use, but aren't essential to making it, to using the system. But
Sure.
would you say ProShop is the backbone of sort of the operations of the business, and what was that? And if so, what was that transition like of putting it in place? Spinal cord surgery is a really complex, potentially dangerous surgery to do.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely think it's the backbone of our company. I mean, just by walking through the shop and seeing it up on every screen and how many clicks it gets, we could look at that too. Everything is driven from the work order essentially. It doesn't start there, but the work order is where everyone in the company goes to see the progress of the job, and then from that point it gets pushed down to shipping, or the work order gets started from the estimate. So all facets of our company goes through ProShop: estimating, order entry, QMS, first article, shipping, and then even invoicing too. So, and then the K Drive hosts all of our NC programs and Mastercam programs too. So it's definitely the backbone of everything we do.
Sure. I know that you guys have also implemented machine monitoring with
Amper.
With Amper, yep. And another example of just adopting technology to drive the business forward.
Yep.
That as well. And actually, just as I'm pulling this up, I'm actually looking at, you just mentioned the hits. So, yeah, you've been hovering since, well, I don't know if this is your local time, 5, 6 a.m., almost 600 hits per hour, plus or minus, which is heavy usage for a team your size. That's good to see.
Oh, is that right? Is that significant?
Oh yeah. That's I mean, every time an employee puts a dimension inspection in there, or adds a photo, or goes even to looks at that at that work instruction page, or hits calibrate on an inspection gauge, or saves an estimate or whatever, that's a hit on the system. And to have 600 of those in an hour with with 13 to 15 people doing that work, that's it's sometimes when we're talking with folks about early stages, they're like, yeah, we're 20 people, so we might need 5 or 6 seats of ProShop. And I'm like, no, you're going to need 20 seats of ProShop. Everyone uses it. And they're like, what do you mean everyone uses it? That doesn't make sense. Our machinists are just at the machines. And I'm like, well, it's different. When you are paperless, you can't just hand a traveler and an inspection sheet and they just, work on paper most of their day and straight with the controller. It's like they're in there actually getting their information, putting information back in, putting in process development, taking pictures of the setups, doing inspections. It's like they're in there all day.
Yep.
And sometimes we get the feedback, oh, I don't want my machinist to be in the ERP. That means they're not making parts. I'm like, well, you actually got to think about it a little differently. It's like we believe it can accelerate the amount of time that they are finishing setups more quickly and keeping the spindles turning more often, and it should be an accelerator to actually making parts and making chips, because it's all about information flow.
Yep.
And if it's all segregated and it's on paper and they can't find it, or it got coolant stained and now they can't read it, it's hard to make chips. So anyway, yes, your usage is fantastic. And
good. That's good. That's good for me
to know.
Yeah. And actually, this is the first time I've ever an episode of the podcast pulled up and mentioned. So maybe I'll start doing that. It's kind of fun to see that.
Yeah.
We mentioned Amper for a second. I see some hits in your system that clearly look like they're API hits.
Sure.
Do you know if you're using the API with Amper and doing anything with ProShop and Amper?
They're trying to integrate it. I know there's some communication back and forth going between the two, but I don't know the extent of how far along that process is.
Okay.
But I think Amper's pulling part numbers and minutes per part, I believe. But honestly, I haven't looked into it
recently. Yeah, I'll ping Oshkosh and see if we can't help them there a little bit. So that's very cool. Yeah, I love it when softwares can connect and talk and make that technology sort of amplify your results. Ultimately that can happen. So as we look to kind of wrap things up here, what would you say for other shops out there that are a little bit earlier in their journey, in their growth of any kind? What would you say are some of the best strategic things that you guys have done that you would suggest they think about doing themselves?
You start.
I think having a roadmap is really critical. Mm-hmm. Having people on your team that really want the company to be successful. And I think reinvesting in technology is probably the number one thing. It's just like automation, right? We've got to invest in automation. I believe it's the next big paradigm shift for our industry, much like CNC technology was the paradigm shift from manual machining back then. I think automation is the big thing. So technology, reinvesting in your business, automation, and software solutions, but that's part of technology rolled in. So that's what I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say technology, like what Jim said, automation and just reinvesting. But then also culture, creating those core values and hiring based off of those core values, and ultimately firing too, because we're here at least 40 hours a week. So being in an environment that you enjoy and being around people that you could tolerate for those 8 hours makes work a lot easier. So
it's true.
For sure.
It's true.
And I think it speaks also directly to what you said, Jim. Having people that care about the success of a business, they're there caring because of the values you've put in place and reinforced and hired them based on that, because they're those type of people.
Hopefully, right? That's what I believe in wholeheartedly. I believe that's what's happening. It's hard to put my finger on it, but all I can do is do the best I can do, and I'm leading with that mentality, and I just hope that everyone's soaking it up and giving it back. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, and I can imagine seeing Ryan, you blossom over the last 2 years, because it's been now almost 6 years. Was it 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
So I think some of the most significant changes in the business, and you really taking that leadership role, which goes clearly, you're deeply bought into the culture and the success. My guess is that's a huge part. It plays a huge part in the team you now have, and
sure.
And them being all invested in and bought into the success of your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, he's married now.
Yeah, I don't know what that has to do with it, but maybe my blossoming.
Absolutely. Awesome. One last question.
Okay.
I'd love for you to picture what CARR Machine would look like today if you were still trying to run it on JobBoss.
Oof.
Wow.
I don't know if I want to.
I don't think we got the sales volume we're at now.
Yeah.
I think we'd be a lot more stressed out because we wouldn't have the ERP running the company. It really does run our company.
And you'd be smaller because your sales wouldn't have grown the same way.
We would not have had the sales volume that we're at right now if we were still on job loss. No way.
Yeah, I don't think our processes would be nearly as documented or followed. Just, I feel like it would be way too sparse. We would use like
have AS 9100.
Maybe, but I mean, it wouldn't. It would, if it was, it would either be in binders like our ISO was, or we would just be segmented to different softwares instead of all consolidated into one, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's somewhat of a fun question to ask and just watch people's faces.
Yeah.
Think about that. Awesome.
It is definitely one, I will honestly say wholeheartedly, that ProShop definitely was one of the top 5 things that we implemented over the last 6 years that really helped us scale up. Unequivocally, there's no doubt about it. Everyone's on board. We even have employees that want to work at CARR because they worked at ProShop at other companies and they loved it there, and they know how it works, and they know how integrated and deep the depth and breadth of the software. So, I mean, yeah, there definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that when you have machinists wanting to pull themselves towards ProShop, I think that really speaks to the fact that it can make their jobs easier, make their lives less stressful as a machinist, and empower them to do, the fun parts of the job without maybe as much of the not as fun parts. And so I appreciate you sharing that. So if people wanted to reach out and learn more about working with CARR Machine and Tool, what would you suggest they do?
First class at carrmachine.com. That's our email address. Or careers at carrmachine.com. We're looking for new people in mid-level management. We're always looking for good qualified machinists. We're implementing an assembly department.
Yep.
Very cool.
I can show that to you personally when you come here in mid-December, Paul. I'm working on it right now, and you're not going to believe it. I'm doing it old school on grid paper, but it works. It works. It really does. And I don't care. I don't care if my young staff is making fun of me or not. I enjoy that. I can do it. It's to scale. I just got to use an eraser a lot. But we're looking for assembly people. Always looking for anybody that wants to work in a healthy, high-tech manufacturing environment. Careers at carrmachine.com.
And the website is carrmachine.com.
It is.
Yep. Okay. Or connect with us on LinkedIn or Instagram at CARR Machine too.
Okay. Got your IG game going.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for this time. It was really fun to chat, talk shop, and I'm so grateful for the trust to use ProShop in the first place, and that it's had such a positive impact on your business.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Appreciate
Paul.
it. Pleasure.
Cheers, guys.
Yep.